Have you ever had a moment that startled you? Not because it hurt, but because it reminded you of something deeper? I remember one morning, not long ago, I bent down to tie my shoe. I was standing in my kitchen, a space I've moved through for over 30 years. But that day, as I stood up, I lost my balance, just for a second. No fall, no injury. But that tiny sway was enough to shake something inside me. It wasn't just about a wobbly moment. It was about control, about realizing how much I took my steadiness for granted, about wondering quietly, is this what getting older feels like? Slowly losing pieces of yourself you didn't even notice slipping away? You see, balance isn't something most of us think about until the day we don't have it. And yet, it's the very foundation of our independence, our ability to move freely, confidently, to live without fear. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through 10 small but powerful adjustments, habits, tools, and ways of thinking that can help you reclaim your sense of balance, not just physically, but emotionally too. These are not complex exercises or expensive fixes. They're simple shifts that bring ease back into your everyday life. And more importantly, they bring back that quiet confidence, knowing you can trust your body again. Because growing older doesn't mean losing your footing. Sometimes it simply means learning new ways to stand tall. Let's begin. I never used to think much about my shoes. They were just something I slipped on in the morning, right? But then, one afternoon, I nearly fell, right in front of my garden, of all places. It was a beautiful day, the kind where the sun hits just right and the breeze feels soft. I was wearing my old flats, the same ones I'd worn for years, when the tip caught on a little crack in the sidewalk. I stumbled. I caught myself, thankfully. But in that moment, something shifted in me. I thought, what if I hadn't caught myself? What if I had gone down? That tiny scare became a turning point. Because balance, true, steady, dependable balance, doesn't just come from strong legs or medication. It starts at the very bottom, our feet, and the shoes we trust to support them. As we get older, our feet change more than we realize. The arches flatten, the padding thins, the ankles lose their quick reflex. That means the shoes that once worked perfectly may now be putting us at risk without us even knowing it. I've learned that a good shoe needs 4 things: a sturdy, non-slip sole, real structure and ankle support, soft but stable cushioning, think memory foam or heel cups, and most importantly, a proper fit. Not too tight, not too loose, and absolutely no more slick-bottomed slippers, no matter how cozy they feel. I remember replacing my old shoes with a pair that offered everything I just mentioned. Plus, they were stylish in a soft gray with a little floral detail. The difference? I walked taller. I didn't second-guess each step. Even around the house, I felt steadier and more confident. No more catching my toe on a rug or slipping in the kitchen. Shoes might seem like a small detail, but when you're over 60, they become your foundation, literally. And when that foundation is secure, everything above it stands stronger too. You move with ease, you feel safer, you reclaim your confidence, one step at a time. And once our feet feel grounded, the next piece of the puzzle is something we often overlook: our vision. Because how clearly we see can deeply affect how safely we move. Let's talk about that next. I'll never forget the moment I realized how much strength I'd quietly lost. It wasn't dramatic. No big fall or injury. It was just an ordinary morning. I was sitting in my favorite chair, about to get up and pour myself a cup of coffee. I pushed myself up like I always had, but this time, I had to use both arms. My legs didn't seem to help. I stood there for a second, holding onto the table, thinking, when did this get so hard? The truth is, after 50, our muscles naturally start to shrink a little every year. It's slow, it's quiet, and most of us don't even notice until something small, like standing up, feels harder than it used to. But here's the hopeful part. We can get that strength back. We can rebuild. We don't need a gym or heavy weights or anything fancy. We just need to start. For me, I began with a pair of light dumbbells I kept next to the couch. Nothing big, just enough to feel my muscles working again. A few curls while watching the news. A few leg lifts during commercials. Some days, I didn't even use weights, just my own body. Wall push-ups, standing on one leg, gentle squats. Slowly, week by week, I could feel the difference. I was steadier carrying groceries. I could get up from low chairs with less effort. But the real gift? My body started to react faster. That moment when you trip and instinctively try to catch yourself, that's strength. That's your body protecting you. And I was finally giving mine the tools to do it. And strength isn't just physical. When you feel strong, you walk differently. You look forward instead of down. You stop fearing stairs or curbs or uneven sidewalks. You feel in control again. You feel proud. Just 10 or 15 minutes a few times a week, it can change everything. And if you're not sure where to begin, start right in your living room. No pressure, no schedule, just progress. And once we start building that physical strength, there's another piece of the balance puzzle we often ignore: our vision. Because if we can't see clearly where we're going, all the strength in the world might not be enough. Let's talk about that next. It was just a quick trip to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I didn't want to wake my husband, so I didn't turn on the light. I knew the hallway like the back of my hand, or so I thought. But as I stepped forward, my foot caught the corner of a rug I'd passed 1,000 times before. I stumbled, landed on my knee, and sat there on the floor thinking, how did I not see that? That small fall taught me a big lesson. Our balance isn't just about muscles and reflexes. It starts with what we see. Our eyes help our brain judge distance, understand space, and stay upright. And as we age, even tiny changes in our vision can throw us off. A prescription that's a little outdated, a lens with a scratch, a dark hallway, all of it adds up. After that night, I finally made an appointment with my eye doctor. Turned out, my glasses needed a serious update. I also learned about anti-glare lenses and frames designed to improve contrast in low light. I added a few soft night lights in the hallway and bathroom, just the kind that plug in and give a warm glow. Simple changes, but they made a world of difference. I stopped squinting. I walked more confidently. And I didn't miss that rug corner again. If you haven't had your eyes checked in a while, please make that call. Clean your glasses, update your lenses, and look around your home with new eyes. Lighting isn't just a detail, it's part of your safety. When we can see clearly, our whole world feels steadier. And just like how vision helps guide our steps, there's something else that can quietly tip the balance without warning: the very medications we trust to help us. Let's talk about that next. A few years ago, I started feeling lightheaded every now and then, just a little off when I stood up from the couch or got out of bed. I chalked it up to aging, or maybe being a little tired. But then, one evening, I stood up too quickly and stumbled straight into the edge of the coffee table. I didn't fall, but it shook me. That night, I looked closely at the label on my new blood pressure medication, and there it was: may cause dizziness or loss of balance. It was such a simple line on the bottle, but it changed everything. I brought it up with my doctor, and after a quick review, he adjusted my dosage. The difference was almost immediate. I felt steadier, clearer, safer. Here's the thing. Our bodies process medication differently as we age. A dose that worked well at 50 might be too strong at 70. And when we're taking several prescriptions, plus maybe a vitamin or two, those interactions can quietly add up and affect how steady we feel. That's why I now keep a little journal of how I'm feeling, any dizziness, tiredness, or unsteadiness, and bring it with me to appointments. Because only we live in our bodies day to day, and sometimes the clues are quiet, but they matter. So, if something feels off, even a little, don't ignore it. Speak up. Ask questions. Sometimes the tiniest adjustment can protect your freedom more than you realize. And just as we listen closely to our bodies, we also need to listen to our instincts when it comes to how we move through our homes. Let's talk about one of the most common hidden habits that puts so many of us at risk, without even knowing it. I used to think carrying a cane meant I was giving in, that it would make me look frail, or worse, old. So instead, I leaned on chairs, countertops, even the walls when no one was watching. I told myself I was managing, but deep down, I was afraid. Not of how others saw me, but of what it meant to admit I needed help. Then came the moment that changed everything. I was carrying a basket of laundry, my hands full, when I stepped on a slippery part of the floor. With nothing to steady myself, I wobbled, arms flailing, and barely caught the edge of a table before going down. My heart raced for hours after. That night, I decided to stop letting fear make my decisions. The next day, I bought a cane. Not just any cane, one that was lightweight, had a comfortable grip, and came in the most beautiful floral design. And you know what? I didn't feel weak. I felt wise. I felt seen. I felt ready. A cane isn't a crutch. It's a companion. It keeps you steady when your legs feel unsure. It frees up your mind so you're not constantly bracing for the next step or scanning for what to grab. And it gives your confidence back, one step at a time. So if you've been reaching for furniture more than you used to, take that as your body gently asking for support, and give it. Not because you're less, but because you deserve more. More freedom, more peace, more trust in every step you take. And speaking of steps, have you ever thought about how your body actually keeps you balanced, and how it can relearn what it once did so naturally? Let's explore that next. I still remember the first time I realized my balance wasn't what it used to be. I was at a wellness class at the community center, expecting a bit of light stretching or maybe some seated yoga. But then, the instructor asked us to try something simple, stand on one foot. Just that. I smiled, thinking, how hard could it be? But the moment I lifted my foot, I wobbled like a leaf in the wind. It was a little embarrassing. But more than that, it was a wake-up call. The truth is, most of us assume balance is something we just have or lose with age, but that's not quite true. Balance, like strength, is something we can train. And when we don't, it fades slowly, quietly. Not because we're weak, but because we've stopped asking our bodies to practice it. You see, our balance system is this beautiful collaboration between our muscles, joints, eyes, and brain. But if we don't challenge it, if we never ask our body to adapt, it simply forgets how. That's why things like walking on uneven ground, turning too quickly, or even getting out of bed can suddenly feel tricky. But here's the good news. Your body is incredibly responsive. Even in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, you can retrain your sense of balance. And it doesn't take hours in a gym or a professional trainer. All it takes is a few focused minutes a day. Start gently. Try standing on one foot while brushing your teeth, or walking a straight line heel to toe across your hallway. You can even shift your weight slowly from side to side while holding onto the back of a sturdy chair. These movements may feel small, but they're powerful. They teach your brain to make those micro adjustments again, the ones that help you stay upright when you trip on a rug or step off a curb. I started doing these exercises during commercial breaks, just 2 or 3 minutes at a time. Within weeks, I noticed a change. I didn't brace myself every time I stood up. I stopped hesitating when I walked across the gravel driveway. One morning, I even caught myself dancing to the radio while making breakfast, something I hadn't done in years. And it wasn't just physical. I felt emotionally steadier too, more confident, more capable. Because balance isn't just about preventing a fall. It's about standing tall, literally and figuratively. It's about trusting your body to support you as you keep moving forward in life. And speaking of the little things that make a big difference, let's talk about one habit that's so simple yet often overlooked: hydration. Because sometimes the secret to steadiness starts with a glass of water. There's something so simple, so ordinary, that many of us forget how powerful it truly is. Water. Just plain water. No fancy label, no prescription, no high price. Yet, it might be the most important medicine you'll ever give your body. I once had a patient, let's call her Margaret, who kept feeling dizzy every afternoon. She'd checked her blood pressure, adjusted her medications, even changed her shoes, but nothing helped. Finally, I asked a simple question. "Margaret, how much water do you drink each day?" She looked puzzled, then laughed softly. "I guess I sip a little with lunch, and maybe a few sips with dinner." That was it. No wonder she was lightheaded. Her body was quietly running on empty. You see, as we age, our sense of thirst fades. We don't get that dry mouth urgency the way we did when we were younger, but the need is still there, especially for the brain, the joints, and yes, your balance. Dehydration doesn't just make you feel tired. It can cause confusion, dizziness, and make your legs feel weak. It can even increase your risk of falling. The fix? Gentle, steady hydration. Not gulping down a gallon at once, just sipping throughout the day. Keep a water bottle nearby. Add a slice of lemon or cucumber if that helps. Set little reminders if you need to. Because drinking water isn't just a good habit, it's an act of self-care. And the truth is, every sip is a small investment in your well-being. It helps your muscles move better, your mind think clearer, your skin glow softer. It's like giving your body the fuel it's been quietly asking for all along. So before you reach for another pill or worry about why you're feeling off, ask yourself, have I had enough water today? Sometimes, the most powerful healing begins with the simplest of choices. Now, let's look at one final habit, something many shy away from, but can change everything. Let's talk about rest and why allowing your body to recharge isn't weakness, but wisdom. There's a quiet irony in how the place we feel safest, our own home, can also hold the greatest danger as we age. I remember talking with Mr. Allen, a retired school teacher in his early 70s. He had lived in the same cozy house for over 40 years. Every photo on the wall, every piece of furniture held a memory. But one morning, while reaching for a book on a low shelf, he lost his balance, tripped over a small rug, and fell hard. A fractured wrist and weeks of therapy followed. He looked at me and said, "Doctor, I never imagined I'd get hurt in my own living room." That's the thing. Our homes become so familiar, we stop seeing the risks. The throw rug that curls up at the edge, the step down into the den, the nightstand with sharp corners, the hallway that's just a bit too dim at night. When you've lived somewhere for decades, these things feel normal, but they're quietly dangerous. Most falls don't happen in icy parking lots or busy sidewalks. They happen in bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens, places where we least expect them. And sadly, many of them are preventable. The truth is, we don't need a full renovation to make our homes safer, just thoughtful changes. a grab bar by the tub, a nightlight in the hallway, securing loose rugs, or rearranging furniture to create clearer paths. And it's not about being fearful. It's about being proactive. You're not giving up independence. You're preserving it. Because when your home supports your movements rather than challenges them, every step becomes more secure, every moment more peaceful. Take a walk through your home, not just with your eyes, but with intention. What would you recommend if it were your best friend walking these halls? What would you want to make easier, softer, safer? Because when a home wraps you in safety, as well as memories, it becomes more than shelter. It becomes your steady ground. Now, let's explore one more habit that often goes unnoticed, but can powerfully shape your daily stability: the rhythm and quality of your rest. My dear friend Mrs. Henson once told me, "I thought eating well was just about weight and energy, but I never knew it had so much to do with my bones." She was in her late 60s when a small misstep led to a broken hip. What surprised her most wasn't the fall, it was how long it took to heal. Her doctor gently explained, "Your bones aren't as strong as they used to be, and nutrition plays a bigger role in that than you think." As we age, our bodies naturally lose bone density, and this makes us more vulnerable to breaks and balance issues. But here's the good news. Nutrition is one of the most powerful tools we have to protect ourselves. Calcium and vitamin D are your bones' best friends, working together to maintain strength and support muscle coordination. You can find them in simple, everyday foods: dairy products like milk, yogurt, and cheese, leafy greens like kale or collard greens, and fatty fish like salmon or mackerel. But it's not just about calcium. Protein supports muscle strength. Magnesium helps your body absorb nutrients, and staying hydrated helps everything, from joint lubrication to focus and reflexes. What's even more encouraging is that small changes can make a big difference. A warm bowl of oatmeal with almonds in the morning, a handful of spinach in your soup, or choosing water instead of a sugary drink, it's these little steps that build a body capable of bouncing back. And here's the deeper truth. Good nutrition isn't about rules or restrictions. It's about giving your body the care it needs to carry you steadily through life. Eating well is a form of self-respect, a quiet promise you make to your future self. So now that we've nourished the inside, let's gently shift to another layer of protection, the one that supports your entire rhythm of life: the power of restful, restorative sleep. Mr. Carl, a soft-spoken man in his 70s, once shared with me something that stayed in my heart. He said, "After my wife passed, I didn't feel like getting out of bed, not because my legs hurt, but because no one was waiting on the other side of the room." That quiet truth speaks louder than we often admit. You see, loneliness doesn't always show up with tears or big emotions. Sometimes, it simply settles into our daily rhythm, making us slower to get up, less eager to move, and more comfortable staying still. And when movement fades, so does strength, balance, and eventually, confidence. It's not that the body gives up, it's that the heart doesn't feel a reason to try. This is why staying connected matters so much, especially as we age. A regular phone call, a weekly church group, or even just a friendly wave to a neighbor can be more powerful than any medicine. Movement doesn't start in the muscles. It begins with motivation, and that often comes from knowing someone sees us, values us, wants us to show up. So if you've been feeling a bit slower lately, ask yourself, is it really your body, or is it your spirit quietly asking for company? Because when we reconnect, even in small ways, our steps grow lighter. And next, we'll explore how to make sure those steps stay strong, even in the middle of the night. Let me tell you a little secret, one that most people don't hear enough. Growing older doesn't mean you're fading. It means you're adapting. When a child learns to walk, We cheer at every wobble. But somehow, when an older adult steadies themselves with a cane or takes a slower step, the world grows quiet, as if strength has slipped away. But that's not the truth. Using support, choosing comfort, prioritizing safety, those aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of wisdom, of someone who's lived long enough to know that standing strong isn't about muscle alone. It's about balance, presence, and love for the life still unfolding. You've learned today that strength comes from your shoes, your muscles, your home, your nutrition, your mindset. But more than that, it comes from honoring the body you have and meeting it with care, not criticism. You're not giving up. You're showing up differently. And that's not weakness. That's a quiet kind of bravery. So next time you reach for that handrail, pause, not in shame, but in pride. You're still moving, still standing, still choosing life, one steady step at a time. And if no one's told you this lately, you're doing beautifully. Keep going.